Sports Professor Rick Horrow, inside the $1.3 trillion business of sports. You're on the record with the upcoming and outgoing issues for the week. We have golf tournaments obviously heading to the Masters. We have March Madness heading to Sweet 16. We have opening of Major League Baseball season, although the Cubs and Dodgers did open it last week, and on and on and on. Hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs abound. Tracy West, the executive director and the person who runs the Copperheads Foundation, the Valspar event. It's had 12 years of commitments, expanding for 5 more. Finishing that event, a rousing attendance, weather, television, business, all incredibly significant as those issues continue. Tracy West, important as we develop those issues over time. Let's hear from her now. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, inside the $1.3 trillion business of sports. You're on the record. Yeah, it's March Madness season. It's opening of baseball season, but it's also golf season. As we record this, we're flush in the middle of the Florida swing. We had the event was the Honda, now the Cognizant. We're at Bay Hill and Reverend to Arnold Palmer, the Players Championship. After that's all over, we go to an event that has quickly risen to the top of the pantheon of Florida golf tournaments, the Valspar, largely because of the efforts of ProLinks Sports and its tournament director, Tracy West, the first female tournament director in the history of golf, certainly the history of PGA golf, and a friend. Hey, was that a good intro? We doing okay?
Sure. That's great, Rick.
Good. Well, look, it's all deserved. There's nothing made up about any of that stuff, and we're obviously very excited about having you for a few minutes. But first of all, let's start. And it is in the early 80s, and you are freezing yourself off at Lake Superior State University, the Laker. Did you ever contemplate being a tournament director in Southwest Florida 15 years later?
No, definitely not. That was not on the radar screen. I'm so old and went to school so long ago. They didn't even have sports marketing degrees or anything, sports management degrees back then. So no, never anticipated where my career would go.
But you took a broad approach to it, finance and econ, BS, and then an MBA at a school that plays a little basketball, Michigan State. So again, basketball, other sports, still the golf bug happened when?
Yeah, the golf bug happened. So when I graduated from Michigan State, I moved to a town, Grand Rapids, Michigan, second largest city in Michigan, and worked for Foremost Insurance, which was eventually bought by Farmers, and an office furniture manufacturer, Herman Miller. But I volunteered. So back in the day, there wasn't such thing as the young professionals groups, right, that there are now.
Right.
It was the JCs, so the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and they operated multiple events on the senior PGA Tour at the time and the PGA Tour at the time. So they had one in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I really volunteered at that event to really hone my business skills and to get involved in the community and get experience as a 20-year-old in the business world, and fell in love with it, and really loved the event management piece, the pro golf piece, and then was really fortunate to turn it into a career. A gentleman by the name of Hollis Kavner, our CEO, scooped me up and brought me to Minnesota.
And a hell of a 25-year career, and the co-founder and EVP of ProLinks Sports. You're referring to Hollis Kavner, who basically started that company. And long story short, you can tell it more in an elevator speech. But Wells Fargo, 3M, obviously a senior event that's happening in Boca Raton that combines the Hall of Fame, and the Valspar. So it's one of those true American success stories that has succeeded in ROI and then kind of rolling up other golf tournaments too. So diverse experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. ProLinks is a great company. We've got about 90 employees now. I helped Hollis back in 1992 start ProLinks, and so really one of the first employees. And we've really grown it into a powerhouse on the PGA Tour and PGA Tour champions. And then we do a lot of corporate work as well. So we're agency of record for multiple national Fortune 500 companies involved in golf and a lot of big scale hospitality. So we've got about 90 people that work for us now.
That diversity is very important. We'll come back to that in a minute as far as corporate hospitality and philanthropy. But you've been the Valspar, or at least the tournament that is currently Valspar's director since 2013. Is that correct?
No, 2015. So yeah,
Oh,
we took over, brought basically the tournament here, had lost its title sponsor
right.
and really was going to go into 2014 without a title. And Valspar had been one of our sponsors, lower level sponsors at
Yeah.
our Champs event in Minnesota. And so we brought them here as a title, and that's when we really took on management of it. And I came down in 2015 to start.
The business of golf, and for people who are understanding this is a sports business show, not only just golf, is so dependent on a title sponsor of others, obviously, but that's where a lot of the ROI comes through. And you had that tournament has had, I remember, transitions and pods, and it's one of those musical chairs events. Luckily for the tournament, luckily for you, Valspar has been a real team player, and obviously very excited about that event for going on what 12 years now, 13.
Yeah, 12 years now, and we just signed another 5-year renewal. So we're going to they're going to remain title sponsor from 2026 through 2030. So that'll take them out 17 years. So we're really, really fortunate, particularly because they had a changeover, right? So they were the
Yeah.
Valspar Paint Company, and then during our term as title sponsor, Sherwin-Williams purchased them out of Cleveland, but Sherwin-Williams and their leadership and their current CEO, Heidi Petz, have complete belief in what this tournament does for them as a company, and so we're now through 2030. So we're really very, very pleased.
Uh, Golf is in many ways like any business, and certainly other aspects of sports, where it is really relationship driven. I mean, the real key from your perspective is to make sure that all of the Valspar folks saw some benefit enough to make sure the renewal was a no-brainer. Just a quite coincidentally, a guy named Aaron Erder, who is James Hardy, is also sponsoring one of your other tournaments that you have in Boca Raton at the Hall of Fame. So it's not just a company, it's building personal relationships, right?
Yeah, it certainly is. Certainly for their business, that's why they continue to do this, right? They wouldn't do it if they didn't see the value in the branding and and then certainly their relationships with their customers and so forth. But for us, yes, it's building those relationships, particularly with the C-suite level execs, because you don't know where they're going to end up. So as you said, Aaron Erder was at Valspar. Now he's at James Hardy, and we were able to bring James Hardy on to be the title sponsor of that Boca event. So you never know when the deep relationships are going to come to fruition in other ways.
So if you're, and I'm just making this up, in Keokuk, Iowa, they don't have a tournament, but they want to have a tournament. And they're trying to figure out whether they want to get a baseball franchise or some other high visibility event. You're obviously going to talk about the countries that watch a golf tournament on TV, the economic impact, and on and on. What's the elevator speech about why a golf tournament is important to a community?
Yeah, I mean, a pro golf tournament with the PGA Tour, whether it's PGA Tour Champions or Corn Ferry or just the standard PGA Tour, is incredibly valuable, right? The audience, it's really delivering the C-suite audience, the type of folks that play golf, watch golf, participate in golf, are those types of folks that big businesses want to do business with. So certainly, the value of the audience, no question. As you said, the reach, a PGA Tour broadcast is over 200 countries, on 39 different broadcast partners, over 30 different languages now. The PGA Tour is literally not just putting on the broadcast, but putting it in redoing the verbiage, the language into different languages for people to watch. So it's not just, little highlights. It's pretty amazing. So that reach. And then it's really spending time with your customers. So who doesn't want to come to a golf tournament, play in a pro-am? You're spending 5-6 hours of uninterrupted time with a great prospect or client, spending those times in the hospitality suites, watching the world's finest golfers. And then, as you said, the economic impact. Each tournament on the PGA Tour, and everyone's a little bit different, but roughly you're generating a $60 to $70 million economic impact for that community, the host community, and then the charitable aspect. So, for example, here at the Valspar Championship, last year we gave $1.4 million to over 80 different organizations. We've given, since 1977, over $51 million into this community. So by the time you wrap all
Yeah.
that thing up, it's a great investment for a company to be a title sponsor.
You've nailed the charitable piece. Obviously, we don't have to double down on that. But the business development, economic impact piece, it's somehow undercounted because a lot of the meetings that are created during that Pro-Am week and otherwise result in some business 2, 3, 4, 5 months down the road. And you can't always count that. It's all, not all, but a lot of it is anecdotal, right?
Oh, absolutely. You don't know about that necessarily. And then really it's the tourism,
Yeah.
that's generated because we're here, for example, the Valspar Championship is at Innisbrook Resort, right? By people watching TV. And it's anecdotal, as you said. Innisbrook has a bunch of people, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people every year that fly in to come and play the Copperhead because they see it on TV and they see the world's finest golfers playing it and they want to come down and play. So that economic impact. So it's not just tournament week, but as you said, it's really throughout the year.
We're not going to put it in an uncomfortable position of comparing the relative economic impact of sports in Tampa Bay. We won't do that. But I will say that you have a new team, an old team that's looking for a new stadium. You got
Mhm.
another team that's been in the playoffs, but no Super Bowl recently. You've got a consistent performer on a regular basis. I know you're field dependent, and therefore, how do you judge the success of an event other than just attendance and business development? Does who win the event matter to you? On a Monday morning after the tournament, why are you smiling or frowning?
No, because you know what? It actually, and truly, this is not being politically correct. It does not matter to me who wins,
Yeah.
right? I have 156 great PGA Tour professionals here. They're all wonderful people. One of them's going to win, and we'll be happy with whoever wins. For us, did we measure success? A charitable, financial. That's the easy measurement, right? But then, yes, do our sponsors keep coming back, right? And that takes you kind of a year to measure that success because, okay, what's your renewal rate and so forth. If people are continuing to come back as sponsors, if they're continuing to buy tickets, so you kind of don't know your success from one year until the next year's almost approached, right? So it's kind of a little bizarre from that perspective. But as long as everyone's having a great time, volunteers coming back, it's then we know we're successful. So which is great.
All right, morph into general golf business. Happy with where the business is today post COVID?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, the entire country, the entire world, struggled with
Yeah.
COVID and, but most things are back to hopefully, normal, et cetera. Yeah, we're very bullish on where the PGA Tour is, right? It continues to grow. Sponsorships. I mean, Valspar wasn't the only renewal. We also just announced a title sponsorship renewal of our 3M Open, which we also happen to manage. That's two big wins right now for the
Yeah.
PGA Tour to have two companies that are full field events, not the signature events. Those title sponsors renew now, knowing that some title sponsors right now are saying, well, hey, where's the PGA Tour really heading? Especially with, the kind of upheaval and, where things are at with PIF and LIV, et cetera. But for two companies like Sherwin-Williams and 3M to put their foot forward and say, we believe in the PGA Tour, we believe in what this does for our company and where this is heading, that's pretty impressive and pretty big. So we're really bullish on where things are.
And from your perspective, having secured sponsors, you can answer this question pretty well. One of the big problems with Major League Baseball is there are Dodgers, Yankees, and everybody else. Do the signature events cause a have and have not threat in the business long term?
I don't think so. I mean, I think short term, everyone was nervous about, what does this all mean, and so forth. But no, I think in general, each tournament does its very best in its community, and you
Yeah.
have a collection of players. I don't need 70 out of 70, top
Yeah.
players in the world, right? I need a really good amount of guys that people want to come out and watch and play, and we make our events a happening, right? So it's
Yeah.
not just you're kind of field proofing yourself, meaning that you want to have enough good guys that people are excited to come out and see them. But it's really about coming out and having fun, doing business, having a great time, taking kids 15 and under, a family friendly event, military. It's all of those sorts of things, and that's what you do. So it doesn't matter if you're a signature event or not. It's how do you treat your patrons and your community, and that's what's important.
You talked about your prolific charity numbers. Is it harder to reach those numbers post COVID?
Um, yeah, sure. I mean, it's always been, it's I think, we've had really great years, depending upon, so the year we had Tiger here in 2018, right? That's going to be a huge charity year. But no, I guess I would say in general, we're back, right? We have a bigger build than we ever had, pre-COVID. So we're back not only to our standard levels, but we're bigger. We have more corporate sponsors. We're up to over 400 corporate partners here in Tampa now, for example. So I think we're in really, really good shape.
As the first female tournament director in the 25-year history, you've survived and thrived over the good old boy network. Rick, don't call it that. All right. So, but it's your answer, and I'll ask you the question: uh, Has the golf industry changed a little bit now, especially with more women entering the workforce and girls entering the sport?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, when I started back in 1992, I mean, just even everyone that worked at the PGA Tour, there was a lot less females than there are now, and definitely at all the different tournaments, and or a lot of times, they had the tournament coordinator role, or some of the basic roles. They weren't in leadership per se. Yeah, that's totally different now. There's a ton of unbelievably talented women that work at the PGA Tour now in all walks of levels, I should say. Uh, for me, yeah, it was interesting, to begin with.
Yeah.
This the senior tour or PGA Tour champions at the time had female tournament directors, and I was one. Back then,
Yeah.
on that tour, I was one, and there was about 4 or 5 of us. But on the PGA Tour, there was not. So when
Yeah.
I came in 2015, there was not. And I distinctly remember the very first year going out and talking to players and so forth. And they'd kind of give you the double take, like, you're the tournament director.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but it was I do everything that every other male tournament director does. I go in the locker room. It doesn't matter. These guys are so used to me now.
Yeah. Well, and frankly, they should be. The final kind of rapid fire question about golf is: Are we doing enough post Tiger to make sure that the kids with any talent are going to play golf as opposed to soccer, lacrosse, chess, esports, and everything else?
Yeah, I really think so, because it's a terrific thing, sport to play, but everything that the first tee has done over the last
Yeah.
couple of decades, I mean, to outreach and teach kids, but not only teach kids how to play, but the values of golf, the 9 core values of golf, integrity,
Yeah.
just everything that it represents. But also now too, what the PGA Tour is doing with TGL, for example, with the PGA Tour Y2K games, all the things that they're doing to reach young kids in a way that those kids relate to. I think will just bring them further into the game. Topgolf. I mean, just
Yeah.
everything that has started. I think our industry is booming.
So we've witnessed an unbelievable, unprecedented meteoric stratospheric rise of Tracy West. Where is she in 5 years?
Hopefully doing this, right? I have Valspar and 3M to take care of through 2030. So that's the next 5 years. And I think, I think Hollis would track me down and tie me to the desk if I was doing something else.
Well, listen, the golf industry, Hollis, everybody else are lucky to have you involved in all of this, and can't wait to see you at the tournament and the Valspar and the industry in really good hands. Tracy West, Executive Director, Tournament Director of the Valspar. Thank you very much. Rick Horrow, Sports Professor, speak with you soon. It is time for the top 5 issues from the previous week, 1 through 5. Number 1. George Foreman, remembered as a man of many legacies, 3rd, 4th, 5th legacy. Remember, he made $137 million as Salton paid him to hawk more than 100 million grills, and he made money that was generational, 1989 and beyond. He also scaled the heavyweight division by getting his shot as to champion Joe Frazier in Kingston, and a decided underdog. The unbeaten Foreman nonetheless dominated. Then the Rumble in the Jungle, Kinshasa, Zaire. Foreman made money hand over fist. Forbes called him one of the richest guys in the world. $5 million purse from fights. But the Forbes deal says that he was worth over $300 or $400 million. And he had a sitcom airing in 1993 and 94 on ABC. He appeared on a charming reality travel show about an aging famous man out of his comfort zone. How ironic that is. He will certainly be missed. Number 1. Number 2, look at NIL from some of the tournament perspectives. First of all, the Razorbacks beat St. John's 75-66. They pulled off that upset on Saturday, but the bottom line is the interest in NIL that got them there. Tyson CEO John Tyson basically bankrolled a $5 million NIL budget for John Calipari to recruit, in addition to his dollars that he generated by going to Arkansas. The immediate result, Sweet 16 and maybe more, and that's the way the game is played today. Number 2. Number 3, getting into the opening of the baseball season. The highest paid players are the Soto $129 million contract, 95% of that coming from his groundbreaking 15-year, $765 million deal with the Mets, $75 million signing bonus, and Ohtani, $102 million. Guess what? $2 million of it is salary. $100 million of it is endorsements. That's the way the deal was done with the Dodgers' Money in the Bank. The sponsors for Soto, Under Armour, Call of Duty, and others. He's just 26. Talk about a bankroll. 15 major league players will earn a combined $745 million in 2025, showcasing the sport's financial extremes. Most of those salaries, you guessed it, Los Angeles and New York. That's number 3. Number 4, viewership figures on the 2025 Super Rugby Pacific. The reason I'm doing this is I'm at an airport, we're going again, Masters, NCAA. Just got back from New Zealand. The teams at the Super Rugby Pacific League on good financial footing. Teams from the Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, 11 teams and others. Rugby Australia declined a proposal to salvage Melbourne in May 2024, leading to litigation, but the Rugby Super Pacific season saw a 12% increase in viewership compared to the previous year in New Zealand, accompanied by an improved stadium. 2.1 million New Zealanders watched the matches on both pay and free-to-air television, a rise from the 1.94 million viewers in 2023. The 2025 Super Pacific Rugby season, bottom line in this year, we have 173,000 viewers on Sky, 42% gain on the previous year. And the bottom line is The league was in some financial turmoil, clearly not now. The Kiwis pretty intense on rugby in all contexts. And then finally, a turmoil in tennis. Days after the Professional Tennis Association, co-founded by Novak Djokovic, they filed a 163-page antitrust suit, named the Tours, the International Tennis Federation, and the International Tennis Integrity Agency as defendants, and the 4 Grand Slams as co-conspirators. Carlos Alcaraz says that he understands some of the issues but doesn't necessarily support the litigation. And Iga Swiatek also publicly complained about the schedule for years on the women's side, players demanding the same rights, protections, and fair treatment that athletes in baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, and others are demanding as well. Tennis, we thought, had a chance for uniform governance. Certainly not going to happen now. Well, let's look at the next 5 top issues over the next week or two. What's coming up? Number 1, Caitlin Clark, WNBA, we're starting again. All of the teams are now in upsizing the Clark games at their existing arenas. The Connecticut Sun shifting their July 15 Fever game to Boston's TD Garden. The Sky swapping 2 Clark games on June 7 and July 27 to the United Center. Last year, there were only 3 teams who rejected the moves or didn't open their upper decks. Man, was that short-sighted. And sources believe that moving games to an NBA-sized arena can include an increase over $400,000 to the bottom line of each team, basically for Caitlin Clark. The games, by the way, that she's involved in, $8 grand on Vivid Seats just to see them. I probably would pay even more than that. That's number 1. Number 2, the new IOC president says she may meet with Trump in order to make sure the 2028 games in LA go off correctly. Christy Coventry had just won a fairly contentious vote. One of the first things she said after talking about how to succeed Thomas Bach after he leaves on June 24 is to meet with President Trump if that means it ensures the games are successful. And believe me, there are some security issues and stadium issues that really do need to be resolved. The IOC in 2021 urged each of their federations to draw up their own gender participation rules, so there's not one universal rule for the sport. Obviously, the transgender issue in Trump's eyes is a big one, and hopefully the IOC will attempt to diffuse it, at least not make it a threshold issue. We'll have to see about that as well. That's number 2. Number 3, a snowstorm where a sports federation is trying to seize control of the U.S. Olympic surf team. Get this, the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee opens an application process to select the organization to govern surfing in the country, a winter sports federation. U.S. Ski and Snowboard Association entered the fray to vie for control of the sport. The surf power vacuum opened in 2021 when the USA Surfing Group lost its national governing body, and it's remained the federation recognized by the ISA, and they assert that forcing the ISA to recognize USSS would violate U.S. law and the Stevens Act. It prohibits national governing bodies from representing multiple international federations. We'll have to see how that all shakes out. That's number 4. Number 3. Number 4, COSM, we've talked about them in the context of the LA visit we've done, firmly looking at Indianapolis as another site. Remember, they're going to Detroit, they're going to Atlanta, they already have North Dallas and already have LA, but now this entertainment venue is looking to locate as part of the Circle Center redevelopment or the proposed soccer stadium district several blocks to the east in Indianapolis. The Indianapolis Sports Corp, Sports Tech HQ, and others are attempting to lure them. Look, Indianapolis has generated significant sporting events, Final Fours, Super Bowls, etc. I have absolutely no doubt they will land this if they set their minds to it. And then finally, EA college basketball game. Don't get ready to buy it off the shelves soon. Electronic Arts increased its investment in its renewed college football video. It would more than double NIL payments to players included in this year's edition. A sign that says EA's basketball series may be delayed when it comes back. The 11-year hiatus on the football side has ended, but the college basketball video games lagged the college football games in the series. There are signs that other video game publishers interested in venturing beyond the gridiron. Sony's San Diego studios included 8 NCAA schools in Major League Baseball in the show's 25 Road to the Show mode. The game was fully released this week. College baseball element also. The company, enduring stock market struggles this year, took 3 years before they actually came back with college football after their announcement. Again, we'll have to see how that all shakes out. That's our show for today. I'd like to thank Tracy West to give her time for us. Also thank Tali Kazar for helping us put the show together as always. Next week, we talk about the Final Four. We talk about Major League Baseball, hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs, and a series of other events. Until then, Sports Professor Rick Horrow, $1.3 trillion business of sports. Thanks for watching. Speak with you soon.